If you were a virus, lot of good news. Being human beings, lots of bad news. Hope they're not on the darshan. Well, particularly United States is looking great concern. Well, the declared number of fatalities has crossed 37,000. And it's moving into more geographically a bigger spread. And unfortunately, a whole lot of people living alone in their homes are being found dead by themselves. I am unable to understand why they could not call somebody for emergency, whatever, but hundreds of bodies being found in homes alone. So probably these are people with other medical conditions like cardiac condition, and they don't go through the regular symptoms, but due to cardiac failure or something else of that kind, they must be dying because of this. So, concern about this is not over. I know a whole lot of people in India are raring to go on the streets on 20th thinking it'll be relaxed. I don't think it'll be relaxed on 20th except for a few services and certain kind of economic activity like agriculture and a few other things. I don't think the nation can afford to do that. But even on 3rd of May, when it is relaxed, we must understand this is out of economic compulsions, not because we have conquered the virus. Economic compulsions are forcing us to do certain things because we don't want the solution to become more expensive than the problem. And slowly we are moving in that direction. Even United States is talking about opening up and going back to work and let's see what happens. Well, what happens is not going to be very pleasant. So, I don't think I'm hearing things from various world leaders and everything. I don't think anybody has a clue exactly how to handle this. We're only trying to slow it down with lockdowns. Nobody has a clue. So, this is a war without shooting a bullet, a big lesson for the whole humanity. Because in 20th century, we've had many wars, 2 wars which could be called as World War, where the casualties were all in millions. When the World War I happened, in many ways, because it's in the same geographical space, Europe, that's where it started. And people thought, never again we're going to do this mistake again, because it was such a disaster. In 2018, when the war ended, as if that was not enough, the Spanish flu happened. Over 50 million people died across the world. including probably 3 million in India. After that experience, in many ways, people thought, this is it, we are not going to do this again. But within the same generation's life, not even the next generation, within the span of that generation's life, we went in for a second world war, which, if you look back and see, from World War I, what kind of weaponry they were using, and World War II, what kind of upgrade happened. If you look at that, obviously, after World War I, everybody was preparing for World War II, because such a huge upgrade in the type of weaponry that was used. So, they spent those like nearly 30 years mainly upgrading weaponry so that they could cause a bigger disaster, which they did. After World War II, well, the formation of world bodies to see that wars don't happen, but some of the statistics say, this statistic is in 2000, it is still true, I think, because since 2000 so many wars have happened. From 1944, when the world war ended in two big blots on humanity, the two nuclear bombs dropped. On people who did not know what the hell it is. From there till 2000, statistics say not a single day passed on this planet without some kind of war or battle happening. That entire 66 years, 56 years, it's been happening. Well, from 2000 onwards, all of you have witnessed how many nations have been ravaged. So, now we are at war because what is happening now definitely has to be handled and in war footing. But a gentler army of people, doctors and nurses and fighting, but a whole lot of people are determined to see the war takes maximum toll. Unfortunately, people are taking out protests about the lockdown in United States. In other countries also, small protests have happened. In India, certain people wanting to consciously spread it, they're spitting on the vegetables and selling it, infected people. It's really unfortunate that this has been the mindset of humanity for some reason or the other, that, well, somewhere we have a fatal attraction towards havoc. We want havoc. We think it'll only happen to others. But that's not how it happens. When it happens to others, it will happen to us also. But the level of prejudice, the level of hatred, the level of resentment that you want to cause damage to somebody else's life has unfortunately sank so deep into human heart. Based on race, religion, nationality, ideologies, these damn things have taken such a big toll in the last few hundred years, unbelievable. The amount of suffering that we have heaped upon each other in the name of race, religion, national borders and national interests, and of course for ideological stuff, is truly… it's very clear. The moment you get identified with any one of these things strongly, whether it's your race or particularly your religion, because here you have divine sanction to do horrible things. Nationality also, it's all right, we belong to a nation because that's a way to manage the world, because we have no mechanism to manage the whole globe, we have to manage nations, that's the only way we can manage people. And stupid ideologies that you make up in your head become more sacred than life itself. Well, if humanity has to become in some way not fully liberated, at least reasonably free from these damn things, turning inward, an experience beyond physical boundaries, which is being described as spiritual process, essentially it's this, that your identity is not limited to physical boundaries, either of body or of community or of race or religion or nationality or ideology. This is all spiritual process means, that your boundary is not limited by any physical entity. If this doesn't happen large scale, as we become more and more competent, as our science makes progress, our disasters will get more dastardly, more complicated and more sinister. So human competence has become a massive problem right now, simply because people are identified with little things. As a generation of people, if we do not strive to get people beyond their limited identities of these 4-5 things, these 4-5 things, if you ask me, I know people are going to attack me for this, these 4-5 things which I mentioned, race, religion, ideology, these must be put in the category of filthy words in our languages, because this is the worst kind of filth that's happened to humanity. The color of my skin, the nonsense that I believe in, and something that I make up in my head and make it sacred, these things have made human beings do things that no human being can be proud of, but they are proud of it because something more than their intelligence tells them. And they're hearing voices from elsewhere. So, at a time like this, every sensible human being on this planet, if we don't stand up and act now, well, it clearly shows we are not interested in the future well-being of human race. That's what it means.